Hello, everyone. We have today the honor and the privilege to host the General Reserve, Tamir Hayman. Tamir served for 34 years as a field commander in the IDF, from battalion commander to corps commander, and in his last position, he was the head of the military intelligence in the IDF. For the last years, he's leading the INSS. INSS is the Institution of National Security Study, a think tank that affiliated Tel Aviv University, leader in strategic and international research in Israel. So, Tamir, thank you for sharing the time with us. I will start with a very general question about the situation at the Middle East in our local neighborhood from Iran to Gaza. If you can just, go through the 7 arena we're dealing with and speaks about the situation that we're facing right now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for having me, and I really appreciate the work of the FIDF. Really amazing, and thank you all for being such a great Zionist and supporter of the IDF. I appreciate that a lot, and it's a privilege to talk with you. So very briefly, because we can go for over an hour to go just over the challenges of Israel, because as you said, it's really a multi-arena, seventh front, and everything is happening simultaneously, all in the same time, all across the Middle East. So I'll go very briefly. Start with Iran, maybe the centerpiece of the challenges of Israel. After the very, very successful operation that Israel conducted of the 12 days war, Iran is no longer a threshold nuclear state. There is not an active nuclear project in Iran right now. And in order to resume its former capabilities of enrichment and assembly of a nuclear weapon, it will take them a minimum of 1 year, most likely over 2 years. They need to rebuild from scratches enrichment site, enrichment facility, conversion sites, and really redesign the nuclear nuclear device, because we have eliminated all of the prominent scientists that worked on that. As what they are doing for now, they are trying to revive their surface-to-air capabilities. They are thinking what happened, what's wrong. They are in a deep research and evaluation of the damage and the lessons learned from that war. And it seems right now the main threat on Israel is miscalculation. The probability that they will reinitiate in a strike against Israel in the current context of Israel being backed by United States, the fact that their surface-to-air capabilities are crippled, and Israel is on the upper hand in most arenas, it seems highly unlikely. But on the other hand, if they will sense another round of violence or offensives by Israel, in this time they will act before. They will preemptively strike Israel in order to somehow save dignity, somehow restrain or diminish the damage that Israel may inflict. So that's the main challenge right now, and the sounds of war are not helping in that manner. They are mainly focusing on expanding the terror network worldwide and inside Israel, urging for some form of achievement in the realm of terror. They are trying to rebuild the assembly lines of those heavy rockets, because they are considering that the strikes of the missiles are as very successful. So a little bit lying, delusional lies of their achievement, but that's the fact, that's the enemy we are facing. And secondly, they are trying to reconstitute some of the proxies that they've lost. And the main question, which is still on the table, is what's the next phase of Iran nuclear strategy. Moving to the northern arena of Israel, very challenging time in Syria, very troubling images that comes from Sueda over the attempt of the new regime in Damascus to take some form of, in order to consolidate Syria as a one whole state. They are the HTS, the Ashara, the leader of Syria, wants to crush the sections, the Alawite, Druze, the Kurds, and the Bedouins. Along doing that, he allows or does not control the atrocities of his former comrades, which are the most extreme, dangerous, jihadistic terrorists in the world. He owes them because they are the factions that gave him the power. But right now, trying to control them seems to be impossible. We have a special relationship and affiliation to the Druze. This is why Israel reacted, but we do not want to be involved actively protecting non-Israeli civilians almost 100 miles from the borders of Israel. So we are monitoring that very closely, still maintaining external positions in few outposts along the Golan Heights, still monitoring in terms of intelligence that they are not going to reignite the massacre of the Druze, and providing some humanitarian aid to the Druze in Jabal Druze in Sueda by dropping aids with the Israeli Air Force. Lebanon is the most interesting, I think, the evolving situation. The fact is that there's a growing demand by the political level in Lebanon to disarm Hezbollah. Hezbollah is fully withdrawn from the southern part of Lebanon. Israel is continue eroding and destroying any attempt of rearming and reviving its former capabilities. And there's a sense of a potential political discourse between Israel and Lebanon that might end up with some form of agreement. But still, that's a long way to go. Right now, that's the situation. Last, the situation in Gaza, which is the most complicated one.
Before you get to Gaza, I want to ask you a question about the situation in Lebanon and in Syria, and ask you to elaborate a bit about it. Some say in Israel that when it comes to Lebanon, we have to strategically push to a kind of diplomatic normalization agreement, because there is an opportunity there to create a even peace agreement with Lebanon. When it comes to Syria, the common opinion within the leadership in Israel that the situation right now is better than signing an agreement, because it's allowed Israel kind of freedom of operation to keep the south part of Syria demilitarized and blocking the new army of Syria run by Julani from going south to the line of Damascus. Are you share the same kind of opinion about the different torch in Syria and in Lebanon?
Generally, I agree that we must accelerate the political procedure, the diplomatical solution confronting in front of Lebanon, and we should take our time and be very careful in front of Syria, that generally speaking. So overall, I would recommend that in Syria, let's take the 2 years or 1 or 2 years, and to ensure to make some boundaries to the expansions or some restrictions that we may challenge the leadership in Syria to actively demonstrate their willingness to be more moderate, non-aggressive to Israel, maintain the security and stability, and affiliated to the West. But we should not rush things up. We should, if we are lifting sanctions, let it be scaled, monitored, and evaluated by some points of achievements. In front of Lebanon, the time is working against us. Eventually, Hezbollah will revive. The window of opportunity is temporary, and we should exploit this temporary window of opportunity to accelerate the some process. It will take time to go to normalization, but any form of tangible steps acknowledging Israeli rights to exist and the security needs is a path in the right direction done between Israel government and the governing in Lebanon.
Thank you. I'm lucky for moving south to Gaza, so
the situation in Gaza is the most complicated one. The bad news is that we are losing the fight in the international arena, and we are totally defeated in the PR world of strategic messaging and false narrative and criticizing about Israel. We are on the way of becoming some form of a pariah state according to the European allies, and I know that criticism of activities in Israel is already spread all across the United States, even not just in the democratic, more progressive parts of the political spectrum, but also in the Republican side. We are losing that fight, and we are bleeding strategically in the realm of diplomacy. In the battlefield, the tactical accomplishments are enormous. Hezbollah is no longer active organization. Hamas is no longer a military organization. It's a guerrilla pockets of resistance. Terror and guerrilla scattered all across the Gaza Strip, embedded inside civilian, using civilians as shelter and shield, sneaking to strike Israel and immediately disappear, not carrying weapons, does not have a structure of command and control that is effective to somehow oppose IDF. IDF has a full freedom of action anywhere it can go. But circumstances, the long war, comes as a burden on the IDF. It's hard. People are serving 300 days in Miluim, in reservists. Ordinary or regular soldier of mandatory conscriptions are not being, are extended. Their period of time serving the army are extended time and time again, and it's exhausting. We should take the maintenance of the arms should need deep reform. All of the elements of this long war is really becoming more and more burden on the extending of the war. And on the other hand, there's no way out because Hamas right now is refusing to go to a hostage deal, which might end the war. The last event was when we have almost reached an agreement. After
how can you explain it? We're hearing again and again that Hamas is destroyed. There is no longer a military of terror. It's still holding, unfortunately, 15 hostages, 20 of them we believe still alive, and is not willing to negotiate. How can you bridge it?
It's very important. It's very simple. They have nothing to lose. They are so weak that they have nothing to lose. Your operational effort really doesn't succeed in striking them without any collateral damage, and the collateral damage works on their behalf by increasing international pressure and maybe eventually forcing Israel to stop the war without any concession by Hamas. It seems that they have reached some form of a position that just prolonging the war by refusing to release the hostages creates a situation where Israel strategically, globally, is losing the fight. So why end it now? So really, that's the situation. And this is why they keep on creating those endless problems in the negotiation, lifting new terms. I imagine everybody saw the White House dinner where Witkoff back then said, well, it's almost done. We have final details and we're going to go to a hostage deal. In that days, it was all about the Morag corridor. Israeli back then refused to withdraw from Morag.
So Morag is a corridor that divides the south part of Gaza from the center and the north part of Gaza.
Exactly, Nadav. Thank you. And so we knew back then that Prime Minister Netanyahu will withdraw from that demand. And he did. But immediately Hamas rose another term that was not negotiated before, and that broke the deal again. So this complexity where, on the one hand, Israel is eager to end the war. It may come as a surprise to you. I think, and I'm positive, I have my sources to back them. Prime Minister Netanyahu has changed his mind. He wants to end the war. He wants a hostage deal to end the war. But right now, it seems like we have passed the peak of our achievements, and Hamas is taking its time. So this is the problem that was facing the cabinet of the war, and there were two options. One was what the IDF suggested, which is a kind of creating a frontal buffer zone, security zone, that from that line of outpost you can continue strikes, raids, targeting Hamas that is spread along a very thin strip inside Gaza Strip between Gaza City and the Muasi. It's a thin strip across the shores of Gaza, and that was the suggestion of the idea. Another option was what was carried by the Prime Minister, which is to reconquer Gaza City, and later on the central camps, and to fully destroy all of the facilities terrorists left in Gaza City as a means to leverage our pressure on Hamas and force them into negotiating table and force them into concessions. Eventually, that was agreed. This is the decision that the cabinet took, and right now, the army is now planning how to fulfill it. It will take time. It's a very, very problematic plan in terms of how to diminish the international pressure while conducting an operation that will eventually move another 1 million Palestinian civilians from Gaza City downward. It will look terrible, and the reoccupation of Gaza, of Gaza City in the context of the international pressure of Israel will be not pleasant images that will go out from Gaza in the next when we will do that. So that's the problem. That's the situation we are headed right now.
We can get a little bit deeper into this kind of catch-22 that you described, that from one hand, Hamas have nothing to lose, and in the other hand, we're speaking about pulling pressure. It's pretty complicated to pull pressure on someone that have nothing to lose. So my question is, what could be a possible purpose of operation like that? Or what could be the end game, outcome of an operation like that? When it comes to the goal of the war, to release the hostages, to destroy Hamas, and also to erode or weaken the governing capability of Hamas in Gaza. So is those kind of military maneuver, without strategic maneuver, diplomatic maneuver, could bring us to the place that we want?
Well, it's very good and very, very good question. We need to, in order to solve the problem, we need to widen the scope. We need not just to think about the hostages and Hamas. We need to think about Israel. We need to think about the Middle East. We need to think about the new horizon, okay? And start with the end state. If eventually you are accepting the terms that that Gaza will be controlled by a different entity, which is not Hamas, that the Israeli will continue to have its security, responsibility, dominance in Gaza. And there will be a different mechanism of law and order by Palestinians, policemen, and maybe by Arab state. If you construct all of that mechanism, that is basically the Arab, Egyptian, Saudi, Emirati proposal. Mm-hmm. That's hanging over there. Israel must agree to withdraw from Gaza totally, and for the time being, accept the fact that Hamas is not disappeared, Hamas is not vanished. It's still there beneath the technocratic committee, and the procedure how to demilitarize it is relying on the will of the Arab nations, and we have our doubts. So that's the frog that Israel must swallow in order to achieve a strategy that is much wider. Eventually, that end state may be connected to some form of Israel-Saudi normalization and reconstructing the Middle East. How to achieve that while you're is in the meanwhile, and that's my point of view, and you can take it, it's really not that important, we should not lift the pressure of Hamas unilaterally without concession, and not complicate our situation by additional conquest of Gaza Strip in the context of what's happening globally against Israel. So to fortify our posts right now, ensure the administration of humanitarian aid, continue surgical strikes and pressure over what's left of Hamas, while presenting Israel-Arab initiative of the day after, and sort of take it, or we're going to continue that way. We are not bleeding. We are more stable. We are not making the situation worse than it is right now. And we are presenting a vision that will end the war, that will ensure the return of most of our hostages. And eventually, Hamas is a challenge that will be dealt again along the years, like you and I done after the Second Intifada. You remember that, Nadav? You were with me back then in the West Bank. We concluded the operation after the intensive operation after a few weeks, and then continue fighting Hamas and other terror activities for 3 more years.
Okay.
While coordinating with what was the Palestinian Authority back then. It's amazing, Nadav. We are the one that invented the way to destroy terror by active operation. We are refusing to duplicate that concept, that Israeli patent on Gaza Strip.
So if I can wrap it up or very simply deliver what you just said, that both sides, the both opinion that we're hearing day to day at the news, the one that speaks about ceasefire agreement today and bring all the hostages back, and the one that speaks about conquer and take over Gaza and destroy Hamas till the last terrorist, are not really connected to earth, are not really connected to reality. The reality is a little bit more complicated. Yeah. And the last message is that, yes, we already find operational kind of method to deal with it. Same kind of way we dealt with the terror organization in Judea and Samaria, the West Bank, could be duplicated in a way with the right fine-tuning to the area of Gaza Strip. I've got another question about the Muslim Brotherhood. We heard today that the deputy at the White House declared that they're thinking about taking the Muslim Brotherhood movement out of law in the U.S. And we know that the Hamas is definitely part of the Muslim Brotherhood movement, and its source of living comes from Turkey and Qatar and the rich Muslim Brotherhood initiatives and countries of the Middle East. There is any way to put pressure on Hamas through those countries that are, in a way, the source of living of Hamas, and bringing back to the negotiation table? And is it an option, or the declaration you declared before that Hamas have nothing to lose anymore work in that field as well, in this layer as well?
Well, I think it's very maybe important, and Islamic Brotherhood are really a global problem, and mainly the problem of Arab world, Arab moderate world. But it will not do anything about Hamas. It will not pressure Hamas. Hamas is in such a dire situation, and the leadership of Hamas inside Gaza is so weak and doesn't really being affected by global trends. I don't know if they will ever know that those activities happens in the United States. So it will definitely not impose some pressure on Hamas on Gaza Strip. As for the Qatar, as for Turkey, as for other entities very strong that are supporter of this Islamic Brotherhood, they will be affiliated, but they are very strong, and I imagine they know how to react. Well, although I agree that it's a path in the right direction against something that most Arab states will probably benefit, it will not help in the short term to relieve the problem or to solve the problems in Gaza Strip.
And to wrap it up, I'll try to stick to the spark of light you light for us at the end of the tunnel, saying that you believe that Netanyahu already decided to end the war. And you know, and I know, that there is a tactical solution to deal with a terror group or terror phenomena like we have in Gaza Strip, the same way we deal with it in Judea and Samaria, or close to the way we deal with it in Judea and Samaria. So we're not speaking about forever war in the terms that you describe in the media, but if I could say, reducing the level of friction on a daily basis, and after a few years, we'll be in the same situation that we're having in Judea and in Samaria. So I'll leave it with that, with this sparkle of light. And I want to thank you again for sharing with us your knowledge and your time, and continue your amazing research work at the INSS. We all enjoyed the booklet and the publication of your institution. So thank you so very much for your job.
Thank you very much, Nadav. And again, thank you very much for the great organization that calls the Friend of the IDF. You are doing amazing job by supporting our soldiers, and the fact that they know that someone very far away consider them as a family really strengthens their will and their and warms their heart, believing that they are defending much more than just the state of Israel, which is important. They are defending the Jewish people, and you are supporting us. So thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Tamir. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.